morning. It is May 26th, and this is John Chen here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. If you're watching here on social media, make sure and share, subscribe, like, comment, do some things out there. And if you chat a live question, we might even answer it here on this podcast. Today, I'm on my smaller laptop. Why? Because I'm so excited. On Wednesday, I am hosting and producing the first ever Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders Summit. This has been a dream of mine for about 3 years where we talked about this and I hosted some virtual Asian Pacific Islander speaker showcases. And the two comments I got from the program were, can we do this tomorrow? And the second comment was, oh, I have never attended a conference or a summit with 100% Asian Pacific Islander speakers. So the Seattle Public Library, thank you, Jay Lyman and the Seattle Public Library, put out a sponsorship and sponsored this whole conference. And it's going to be on Wednesday, and you can even watch it from home. I'll post a link in the chat. You can actually search it too from the Seattle Public Library. It's on their website, and we have over 160 people attending from around the world and in Seattle. We have over 12 National Speakers Association speakers at this meeting. It's going to be fantastic, and I just want to give a shout out to my good friend Leo Chan from Toronto, Canada. He's a Lego Serious Play facilitator, and he's going to speak on innovation and creativity at this program. But anyways, so check that out. As you can tell, I'm a little excited, and you should be too. Meanwhile, I got this gentleman with us. He's got over 25 years of business experience. He's, of course, going to be my next podcast guest. His leadership helps companies emphasize building relationships, not just transactional business deals. He's the podcaster of the Quarterback Dadcast. We're going to talk about that. And he's the author of a book called Win the Relationship, Not the Deal. Oh, in Meetings Professionals International, we always talk about this is a relationship business. So I'm excited to hear his insights. He's a father, husband, dad, a coach, podcaster, speaker, and a business leader who is the same person in and out of work. We're going to find out. Please welcome to the show, the one and only Casey Jacox. Casey, how are you doing this morning?
Man, I'm blushing. I'm blushing. I couldn't. I was waiting for the smoke to get out so I could really get into pan there. But man, what an intro! I'm honored to be here, John.
Well, you're welcome. And normally I would have walk-on music for you here, but today it's just me beatboxing and you just being awesome. Anyway, so yes, how are you doing today, Casey? Tell me something good in your life.
I'm grateful. I had a fantastic weekend filled with a lot of laughter. I surprised the kids, a little jam session with a guitar.
Oh,
I learned how to play We Are the World, which
oh.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, wait. Casey and I were talking about movies. Did you see the movie?
I have not. I
Oh,
know.
you're missing
I know.
out. It's like the greatest night on show on earth or something like that. I forgot the name of it. Basically, it's the behind the scenes view of Michael Jackson and everyone getting together and recording
Oh,
We Are the World.
I have seen that. I thought you were talking about Michael Jackson's new movie.
Oh, I haven't seen Michael Jackson's new movie yet either.
No, I have seen that. It's fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my favorite behind the scenes is that only Stevie Wonder could play the piano with come on, who's the mumbling singer? Come on, I gotta,
Oh,
now we're blanking names. He just had his
is
new
it Bruce
movie.
Bruce Springsteen?
Yeah, no, the other guy. We're gonna play trivia now. All right, it's gonna come to us. Watch, it's gonna hit
Put
us
it in the
halfway
chat.
through the show. But anyways, that and my other favorite fact was that they had to re-record Cyndi Lauper because all her jewelry was making so much noise that they were like, "What's that noise?" Right? And then it was all her jewelry. They made her take off all her jewelry to sing her parts. So
Yeah, the craziest thing about that for those that are watching at home is the number of hours they were up and didn't sleep.
right.
That blew me
Well, they
away.
stayed up after the award show. They showed up at like 11 and they stayed up till like 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning.
Insane.
And the other weird fact that Prince either wasn't invited or like showed up and left. I forgot which one it was, but anyways, you didn't leave, Casey. Thank you for not leaving
I
the
didn't.
podcast. So let's do this. For my friends who don't know you, take a few moments and introduce who you are and what you do in the world.
Yep. Well, I was like you mentioned in the intro, I was Well, I was corporate guy for 25 years. I'm in the ripe old age of 50, married for 27 years. I'm about to become an empty nester, which is exciting and scary at the same time. But um, after spending 20 something years in corporate, I left to write a book, started this podcast for fun. Next thing I know, it became, 350 episodes later, 7 years, and then the coaching and speaking world found me. And as corny as it may sound, I definitely feel like it's like my calling, what I'm supposed to be doing right now in life. The cliche of you don't feel like you work a day in your life if you love what you do, like that is, I'm walking the walk of that every day right now. And it's like a pinch me moment in the morning because I love, love teaching people how to connect. And I love reminding us all that doesn't, I mean, yeah, it's great that we've had success in one journey of our life, but you still got an opportunity to get up the next morning and get better. And you still got an opportunity to kind of say maybe you fell short, but you can get better tomorrow. And just that kind of that growth mindset is something I'm addicted to. And so it's fun. It's what I'm doing now. And all the work I've done for the last 7 years has all been referral based, which again is very, very humbling and very gratifying at the same time.
Oh, fantastic, Casey. We're about to see David Newman this Saturday, who is a marketing expert. He's running a workshop called Market Eminence.
Mm.
So let me ask, well, the podcast is technically marketing, isn't it? Or is it something else to you?
It is. It never meant to be though. That's what's funny. I literally
Right.
when I wrote the book, started the podcast in 2020, they were just two things I did, and the next thing you know, they kind of started weaving like this way, and then the next thing you know, the speaking and coaching world found me, and then now it's all intertwined. But I still don't do the podcast for marketing. I do the podcast to learn, to practice my listening skills, my curiosity, storytelling, and to help share other people's journey. And if it brings opportunities down the road, great. But if it doesn't, I'm here to serve dads.
Oh, well, thank you, Casey, for that too. I'm one of those what are the dads in the club, which is the divorced dads, and I did raise all my kids solo. And
Mm,
things like I moved my house that was within 5 minutes of their school, right? So I could still work and still pick them up. And I actually encouraged one of my friends too. He was thinking about being a weekend dad, and I just told him a story. I never told him what to do, right? That was the key, Casey. As I just told him a story, I said, "This is what I did." I ended up getting the max for a dad, which is like week on, week off, and my hope is it made a difference, right?
mm,
But he actually made that decision too, and I'm 99% sure that changed his life to have, you
mm.
know, 50% of time your kids with as opposed to 12% of time your kid with your kids it's got to make a huge difference. So it's 2020. Tell me the genesis then of this book and this podcast because it's COVID, so I'm sure something was going on.
Well, I'd love to, if I can, take a step before back a little bit before that. So, as I reflect on my life, it's been riddled with me overcoming adversity or me overcoming building grit through whether it's sports, whether it's an injury in high school that prevented me from playing at a higher division level, to taking my first job as an hourly sales contractor, which was silly, and I was making $16 an hour. I thought I was like, oh my god, this is insane. Um, to
Yes.
Oh my god, to being a part of some of the biggest deals in this other company's history, to some of the fails. Been through 2008 crisis, 2013-14, biggest deal in our company history, biggest flunk company history. I was the same dude. And then I leave in March of 19, uh, decide to write this book that was in my head for about 8 years.
Yeah.
And I launched that and podcast. Oh yeah, during a global pandemic, what a perfect time to start a business. But it's all I've known. And it's just, you keep going along. So I had this vision in my head back in probably 2013, 14, where I was traveling a bunch for the corporate job, and I was in Dallas, and I was training someone who didn't, a bunch of folks who they were like, I was like the big brother, and they
Mm.
were, trying to gain my approval, and I was trying to like, teach them these things, and I go, I expect you to win every deal, but you're not. More importantly, I expect you to win every person. And they looked at me like, what? I go, we have to win the relationship, not the deal. And right, and I said that I was like, ooh. It was like when Clark W. Griswold saw the Christmas tree in the forest. I was like, that's it. That's
Oh
the
yeah.
title. I knew
Oh
it.
yeah. Angels
Yeah,
sing.
I
Yeah.
knew it.
Oh, you and I are movie buffs. We're gonna sit around. We're gonna do a whole podcast, and we're just gonna quote movies for like 30 minutes. How about that?
Oh, well, if it's in the 80s, I'm in. Yeah, 80s comedies. It's like, that's probably one of my, if that came up on Jeopardy, I'd kill it. Um, but I knew that was the title, and but I started doing a little bit of writing before really knowing what a writing was, and people said, how'd you become such a conversational style writer? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And but then I realized that that was just from all the business emails I wrote over the years. And anyway, long story short, I just figured out I wanted to write a book that would help people because so many businesses teach their salespeople. They tell them actually, hey, go build relationships. Hey, you got to start building relationships. Well, no one slows them down to teach them.
How?
Right. And so I was like, I made it the most simple, digestible, like six things you don't need AI for. You just need a little bit of common sense, a little bit of practice, a little bit of checking your ego. And there's six things you can work on. And they're the six things I still practice each and every day. I'm not always perfect at them, but when I was accomplishing some big things in corporate, these are the six things I did really, really well.
Well, let's hear the top two. I want to hear the top two, and then make people get the book for the other four.
Yeah, well, I'd say the top two. I'd say number three, chapter three is about the difference between listening and hearing. And
Say more. What does that mean for
yeah,
you?
so listening, hearing is subconscious, listening is conscious.
Hmm.
Hearing doesn't take eye contact, listening takes eye contact. Hearing doesn't take me taking notes, listening requires me to take notes. And then what that leads right into what I called chapter four is about the power of documentation and why a CRM made me look like I went to Stanford. Uh, Most salespeople hate CRMs. They hate documenting because they feel like, oh, my boss is just, God, he or she's just in my, you know what? They just want me to document for all these reasons. I'm like, no, I want to document so I look smarter than everybody else. And I want to document so that and every time I follow up somebody, I'm going to ask them a question
Yes.
because you lead with curiosity, you allow someone else to talk and it's about them versus you just like calling to quote unquote check in, which is also code for I'm calling to waste your time and I don't know what to talk about. So those are, I would say, the top two. I mean, that's tough to narrow them down, but I would say uh, those would be the first two I could think of that probably speak the most.
Well, in terms of engaging, I think these are so important. Active listening is really the key. And but Kathy and I were talking in the pre-show, and it's just like, do you want me to ask you any questions? And it's around the flow. And the one of the things as a podcast, and hopefully maybe you do this as a podcast host too, is that as a podcast show, it does require you to do active listening. And if you're really a great podcast host, often you're listening between the lines. You know what I mean? You're between the words. There's something there, and that's where the next really cool piece comes around. And then the notes. So notes like this. So you look like a genius. I love that Stanford, right? Although I went to UC Santa Barbara, like the top party school on the West Coast,
Oh,
but had a very good engineering school. So Casey and I talked on April 30th, and see, like I know this. I remember his walk-on song is "Remember the Name" by Fort Minor, right?
well
And
done.
that again, those are the things that build a relationship. Going, holy shit, John was actually listening,
And then when we talk next, I'm going to say, man, I've been thinking about you. How was that event at the Seattle Library?
right?
Tell me what
Yeah,
surprised you.
right.
What was your biggest like aha? What was your
And
favorite moment?
like and it's getting to that too. Like I kind of feel, Casey. I'm not predicting, but it feels uh like there's going to be a big moment here. Like there's probably something emotional. Like I'll tell you, like the behind the scenes story, Casey, is again, I'm a member of National Speakers Association, and I asked them to create a ribbon. Like, when you go to a conference, you get ribbons that identify you. And like we have Rainbow, and there's an accessible group, and there's Black NSA, and there's like all these affinity groups, plus other markers like women-owned business or something like that. But there was none of them for Asian Pacific Islander. And I asked them for that ribbon, right? This is like the representation part.
Mm,
Uh, and they actually made it. They actually
mm,
listened, and it actually took 50 years for us to create a group called the Asian Pacific Islander National Speakers Association. I'm the
wow.
one that founded it. Like it was a meeting, actually, it's really cool. We all left a keynote, and 12 of us went into a bar. Like it just happened serendipitously. And the 12 of us
Ooh,
sat in a bar for like an hour and talked about and saying, we're going to form this group. Right. And so now it's been that way. And the emotional part I'm going to get to is the first time I went to the next conference and the ribbon was there, I put it on and then I started crying, Casey.
oh, that's awesome.
It's just I don't know what I know. Like I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but it turned out for me it was a big deal that
Well,
uh
it's Trailblazer, my man. And
Yeah.
you use the word serendipity, which is my one of my favorite words. I stopped using the words like, "Oh, it ironically happened" or "it randomly happened to me." No, it didn't. And I think I really fell in love with the word surrender when I read a book called The Surrender Experiment that was
Ooh.
referred to me. It was a little, I would say, out there from a little spiritual perspective. But when you surrender to like your values that drive you as a person, it's a pretty cool way to live life. And so I think you're doing that. And so it'll be cool to see, 100 years from now, there'll be people talking about, man, I'm grateful for a guy that John Chen Cat. So
In
good
National
on you.
Speakers Association, there were five founders, and they talk about this thing called the spirit of Cavett, right? Have you heard of this?
Mm-mm.
So Cavett was one of the original five National Speakers Association. The spirit of Cavett, his speech was always around, don't fight over the pie, make a bigger pie. And so it's actually changed the culture of National Speakers Association where speakers like we could fight for the keynote because there's only, we think, a limited number of keynotes, but his mindset has changed the whole thing. Everyone buys into this for the most part that says there's enough keynotes for everyone. So why don't we all help each other out? And so people come into this organization and saying, I've never seen an organization more where we're competing and people will just flat out help you out. And in a keynote too, if I keynote one year, like they're not going to choose me again next year because they got to go get someone else just for their
Yeah.
audience. And so they stopped competing and it's really the culture is there too. That's one thing. It's just kind of like Casey, what you're saying. It's like listening versus hearing, right? Or hearing versus deep listening, and saying that it could be like written on a plaque, but it's
Mhm.
actually people walk in and they're blown away. Like new people all the time will get welcomed by very, very senior people, and they'll just drop nuggets on them. So
Mm. I love that. Well, I think it's back to the word serendipity. Shout out to Paul Howery for connecting us and Eben, I believe, back in 2020. Um, and yeah, you when you said that example about you know more of a life of abundance and a mindset of abundance,
yeah,
I immediately thought of two stories this year where I had paid speaking gigs that I just couldn't do, and I teed up a quote unquote competitor. I'm like, no, I want to help the client. I want to help them, and this is a great. Let's walk the walk of what win the relationship, not the deal means. And these guys have become friends of mine. Actually, I'm traveling to Boston today. I'm going to see a gentleman who I helped. Shout out to Chris Mater, and we're doing things together. I'm helping him, and he might go after the same stuff, but it's like there's enough for all of us out there if you really just let go and but unfortunately not everybody thinks that way, but hopefully we can influence some others to get them to think that way.
what are the insights from the quarterback dad cast? I'm curious, now that you've talked to a bunch of these dads, I did feel too when I got divorced, like there are horrible, very few resources I feel like still to this date for dads who get divorced because there's so much emotional content and guys for the most part are not that good. I'm just curious, yeah, what are some of your top trends or insights that you see from your podcast?
Well, I've interviewed over 350 dads. I've
Wow.
interviewed dads who have gone through divorce. I've interviewed dads who have gone through losing a child. I've interviewed dads who um, have gone through just difficult times. We've had dads who are stay-at-home dads. So I mean, I've seen a lot. I think the one thing that is consistent is dads will say, "Man, how did you get me to talk about that?" Or how did you?
See?
I haven't thought about that in a long time. I had one wife of a dad say, why did you start crying?" And like, or how did you get him to, he's like your therapist. I'm like, no, I just was listening and asking great questions
Yeah.
and made it about them. And so like when you can connect. And so I think what dads realize they don't maybe slow down to think about some of these things that these life moments or how they were shaped um, or maybe sometimes the ego gets in the way a lot. I see with dads.
Yeah.
But I think when you can really fall in love with a word called vulnerability and realize that we're all going to go through tough times, we're all going to go through challenges, but like instead of like putting that shield up and pretending like life's great, like it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to say, man, I'm struggling because you everyone else is going through the same thing too. So I'm going to overshare, and I find when you overshare, sometimes it draws connection much quicker.
Yes.
And so like for example, one of the questions I always ask is I tell dad or ask dads, tell me an area of your dad game where you might not be super happy with it. And you know that if you're really honest with yourself, here could be an area you could get better. And I said, let me go first. I'll throw myself under the bus to try to like disarm them. And I'll say,
Yes.
sometimes patience as a competitive guy gets my best of me, or sometimes having these expectations in my head of how I want things to go, they're not always going to go that way. So it's like, why put so much pressure on your family, yourself? Just like chill out, dude. Not that big a deal. And so like, and I have to relearn that. I went through this past weekend and, just this like slowing down. So it's like for me, I almost get self-therapy out of it every time I talk to dads because I realize, hey, well, I'm on this journey to be the best dad I can be, best husband I can be. And so I love
By
it. It's fun.
hearing by hearing somebody else's story too, it'll remind you of either the things you've done or the things you might be doing now, going, oh, wait a minute, I do that, or I'm still doing that, or maybe I
Hmm.
should go do this. You know, that technique though that you talk about is something that I think that's really, really important. I got a chance to be the producer for Elizabeth Gilbert. Remember the book Eat, Pray, Love, the movie?
Yeah.
And she did this amazing keynote where 35 minutes into her keynote somebody chats, I feel like I'm having a one-on-one with Elizabeth Gilbert in an Italian cafe, and there are
Mm.
650 people on virtual,
Wow.
and that there's something magical there right there, because who does that in a virtual keynote? And she used no other tech. She had a natural camera and a mic. She never shared her screen. She never ran a poll, right? She never chatted, and yet she was able to get people to be fully engaged through that. And one of them that we tore it apart, we found 8 things. I actually do a keynote based on it now. And one of them is vulnerability. And that's that ability to go first. So you ask a deep question, right? It's around vulnerability. But one of the techniques that's super important is to go first, because what you share will often alter what the other person shares. And
Bingo.
so I just saying, that's what Casey's doing there is something that we've seen over and over from our top speakers, and it's a practice that I have too. The other part too that's valuable, Casey, is for all different kind of learning styles. When you go first and you tell a story, you give that other person time to think. Because if I go to Casey and I'm like, Casey, tell me about a time you're vulnerable now, right? He's like, wow, right? But if I come around and going, Casey, I've never been the best dad sometimes, all right? So let me tell you a story and let me see if it invokes another story for you about a time when I was either a great parent or I was not a great parent. And so actually here, I'm going to share one. And let's see if you have a reciprocal story that goes along with it. One of my, these are what I call proud parenting moment stories,
Okay.
which is one time, right, I hung around with Tony Robbins, and so we do the basket brigade, and I was trying to get my kids to do it, right? I thought it'd be useful. You buy all the items for food in a basket, you get an address, you deliver it as the delivery person, so they can't give it back to you. You just say, when they say, we can't accept this basket, and you're like, I'm just the delivery person, right? You got to take this, all right? It's my job to deliver this. So we go, and the fun part, though, is a lot of people get to go shopping for the basket. They usually spend like a $50, and they're like invokes memories for people. They're like, oh, I love rice stuffing, or here's bread stuffing, or like people go through all their traditions. Anyways, I brought my kids to this, and my kids were kind of like in that phone texting kind of teenager age, and they're just like, this is dumb, this is stupid, this is your thing, Dad, this is not our thing, blah 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 blah. And eventually, I had to have it out with them, and I said, look, kids, all right, I said, I understand you don't want to do this. Uh, but let me tell you right now, as your parent, right? You don't have a choice to not do this. We're doing this. We're going to help a family. Here's your choice. You can enjoy this process, or you can have the shittiest, worst time you ever want. The choice is yours. I don't care. And then we walked around, and they were in the grocery store, and they're all walking around, and they're all texting each other, of course, right? And then later on, I eventually, like 20 minutes later, I get a text, or 15 minutes later, I get a text, and they're like, hey, Dad, we talked, and we just want to let you know you're right. Right. That's the
Love it.
proud parenting moment. When your kids actually say you're right, they're like, right, we'll help you with this basket.
Well, you let it be their idea. I mean, you used curiosity, and then silence was your friend, and they eventually came around, and those are awesome. Those are awesome.
So, yeah, do you have a similar story like that, or in your parenting journey, or? Anything around like that?
Well, I think the couple story one I thought about vulnerability, and when you were saying how you described it, I was like spot on, spot on, spot on. I teach vulnerability in corporate when leaders sometimes they think they want to have the loudest room. I mean, sorry, they want to be the loudest in the room versus creating the loudest room, or they don't need to be the smartest, and it's so mind-boggling to me. And I learned that early in my 40s, but so when I teach vulnerability, I share a story when my dad died.
Ooh.
And when I was teaching a CEO, and it's not really about parenting, but so I've that sort of. I also have a story about when my daughter, who unfortunately just tore her ACL this year, her senior year in basketball.
Oh, I've torn my ACL as a skateboarder, so my knee goes out to her.
Yeah, there you go. So ACL, MCL, meniscus, and um, I lost my senior year in football to an injury,
Oh,
35 whatever years ago, and I ended up playing. Luckily, was able to play football at Central Washington University. And now
wow.
my daughter is going through the same thing, and she's committed to play basketball at Central Washington University. So it's like I can be vulnerable to say, like, hey, listen, honey, I know what you're going through. Like every single emotion, probably not everyone, but 99.9% of them, I've already been through it. So if you want, I'm here to share any stories, and I just have said, like, your mindset's way better than mine. Like I was that first month afterward, I was like hoping the team would suck. I hope they would do shitty. I hope that everybody, and you haven't thought about that once. So like I'm inspired by you. So like I could have not shared the negative side of me, but I was vulnerable to share. And she's like, "Oh, why?" And then she was curious why. And I said, "Because I already beat this kid out, and then he had to come play quarterback. That was my job, and it was mine. I was a captain, and all these things, and selfish, selfish, selfish." And he would go on to take us to the first state playoffs, first time in 20 years, break our single season passing yardage record, and get named second team All League. And I had to watch one of the best things that ever happened to me, John,
Mm,
ever.
mm.
So I share that with my daughter, my son, even my son too. And they're like, as they get older, like, man, that must have been hard. It was freaking brutal, kids. But I had to be vulnerable to go ask my coach for help,
Yes.
which I did. And so, I mean, there's a lot of stories. I just think there's so many more gifts. And Brene Brown is obviously the queen of vulnerability.
Yes.
And I don't know if you know this, but she can drop an amazing, uncanny timed F bomb in a speech. Like I was at the LinkedIn Executive Conference in 2016. And I was like, it was like the most well-timed. You just didn't expect it, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert has the same trait too, and it built a relationship. She read the room right. That's the other key too,
Mhm.
right? Like, and the second one is when your persona doesn't support that, then you can use it's kind of like shock and awe. And
Yeah.
you don't overuse it, right? So there's like all these, she's probably in her head like some either natural or born techniques, but it can be effective in the right situations.
100%. I
100%.
and one of my friends said, I don't trust people who don't swear. I was like, that might be a little aggressive, but it's kind of funny. Sometimes you let your guard down.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Yeah.
encouraging people to drop F-bombs at church and their kids fifth grade one-on-one, but like sometimes, I don't know, it can drive some connection.
Like I said, you got to find the right situation for it if you want to use it effectively. Otherwise, you can cause a lot of damage with the wrong thing. But
Sure.
it's like all the things here too, though. I think maybe that's your finding too is the consciousness with your words.
Yeah, it's funny you say the word conscious. You almost like read my mind. So when I was in my early 40s, here you go. One of my mentors said he told me I was one of the most unconsciously competent people he's ever trained. And I go, well, that doesn't sound good. And he laughed. He goes, no, it's good. You just
It's
don't
very
realize.
good.
He goes, you just don't realize what you're doing,
That's right.
and I'm going to slow you down so that you can teach it better. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so I
Yes.
share that with leaders a lot too, and I share it with my kids. And sometimes we don't think like the work you do as a speaker and the work you do in tech is like I was like when I was watching before we recorded, I was like, holy cow, how did the guy do this? Now I'm sure that you slow down to teach it now, but like there's a lot of stuff that you do that most people can't do. And you either can say, just don't say that, or slow down to maybe ask questions to see if even people want to learn more about that. And so I think like, I don't know, it's conscious competence is a gift. It's a skill. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes checking
Yes.
your ego, but it can be really, really powerful for leaders or dads that decide to use it.
Yeah, I think you got to slow down. And sometimes, yeah, breaking down what you do, because then you can teach it, right? And at least tell people what's happening behind the scenes, and then people can figure out if they can adopt it. Also systematizing things that you do. So, breaking it down into like, it's like, that six parts, right? I actually had
Mhm.
created the engage method. It's the same thing. And you just find these are the trends. Like when in life, at least it goes back to the 80-20 rule that if you do enough stuff too, you'll find out that you can, cover 80% of the stuff, right, with 20% of a system and be very, very, very effective. And then, the last 20% is like the custom stuff that you still gotta stay on and invent. But I think that part is really important with that. So, Casey, let me do this. Let me go back to March of 2020. So you said you started all this stuff during COVID. So I'm just curious, what happened to you in March of 2020? What were you doing and what happened? And what did you do when said pandemic broke out?
Like, where did I go during when COVID hit?
What did you do? So what happened to you? So for instance, many of my friends were speakers. They had a horrible time. Some of
Oh,
them like lost upwards of 60 paid presentations in one day. Um, and for me, I lost probably 25 events in one day. But I went in and I've been studying virtual team building now for 38 years. So
wow.
on the day that COVID shut down the entire world, I actually decided saying, my question was, how could I help the world?
Mm.
And I said, I have experience in virtual team building. Like I don't make vaccines, but I do make how to make your virtual meeting better. So I had to put this class up on virtual team building on Eventbrite, and 5,000 people took it in the first year.
Wow.
Those are those lives of those, you're saying
Pivot.
serendipity, right?
Yeah.
That was a serendipitous moment, but it was 38 years of preparing for that one moment because we tried to sell the stuff before. Nobody would buy it, Casey. Nobody would
Yeah.
buy it. And then all of a sudden, March of 2020, everybody was mysteriously interested. And you know, I think that's one of the things that makes you as a human being. Did you go and retreat and complain and stock on toilet paper? Or did you ask yourself, how can you help the world and
Hmm.
change your life? To me, COVID was the best gift that I ever got.
COVID was fantastic for a lot of reasons. I mean, I spent 4 months with my family in Eastern Washington. I so I was I took a sabbatical after I left corporate, and I had kind of significant non-compete, so I couldn't do a lot in the
Yeah.
industry, which is it is what it is. And but the second year of the non-compete during COVID, I told myself this is your job to just connect with like-minded people, try to connect them with other like-minded people, and just surrender to what's next. You don't, and it's
Hmm.
okay that you don't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know I wanted to get into coaching. And funny how I got into coaching hit me first and then speaking. But coaching, I was literally talking to a CEO, and she was asking me because she goes, "Hey, do you know anybody who could coach my VP of sales?" And I'm like, in my mind, I was like, "Oh my God, I could totally do that." But the story I told myself, John, was, "Well, you're not certified. You didn't go to coaching school, so it's probably not me." So I called this gentleman in Toronto, and I said, "Hey, Andrew, I think I'm supposed to get into coaching, but I don't know. What do you think I should do?" And he goes, "Hey man, can I be honest with you?" He goes, I go, "Yeah, that's why I called you." He goes, I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't think you can take it." I go, swear words coming here, just FYI for your audience. I go, "Dude, I can take it. I played college football. I've thrown 4 interceptions in a game, got booed. I've been a part of this other company's biggest deal, biggest flunk, been in boardrooms. I can take it." He's like, "Okay, cool." So he goes, "But I heard about KCU's that you've achieved this, this, and this, and done this, and this, and this." I go, "Yeah." I'm thinking, "How do you know that?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Good, then get out of my motherfucking face and stop wasting my fucking time." And I look, my eyes got big, and he literally holds up my book, which I didn't realize he had. He goes, "Hey, dumbass, here's a certification." I was like, "Oh my God." I go, "Thank you." And I hung up with him. I called the CEO right back and I said, shout out to Leslie. I go, "Leslie, I know you said you have to go, but do you have like 2 minutes?" She goes, "Yeah, but talk fast." I go, "Are you still looking for your coach?" She goes, "Yeah, I just told you that." I go, "I think I found your guy. Can I tell you about him?" And I described myself in third person. And she's like, "Holy cow, who is this dude?" I go, "It's me. When do I start?" She's like, "What?" I go, "I know." I go, "I don't know what to charge you. I have a business license. I don't have a website. I don't have any marketing material, but I'm so confident I can help her based on my experience that how about whatever you were going to pay a coach, give me 75%. And after 3 months, if I've not impacted her habits, I'll give you all your money back."
Oh, yeah, it's like nearly money back guarantee-ish, right? Yeah,
Which I
smart.
didn't mean to, but I just surrendered to that. So
Yeah, it just came
that,
out.
yeah. So, and then COVID, yeah, I mean, I'm just grateful for the time with my kids and wife and um, you know, but I don't enjoy the people who got sick and had this challenges of all its shenanigans, but
Yes.
it definitely made, I mean, power pivot. You got to like, and it reminded me, I pivoted multiple times in my corporate career.
Yes.
You got to be open to change because change is going to definitely impact us. It's not a matter of if, but when.
Okay. Do you know who Jordan Babineau is?
I do big play Babs. I don't know him well. I've actually had one call with him. I actually got introduced to him by a guy named Dave Carroll.
Yes. Just
He's
saying that because pivot is his big point and his keynote. I've gotten a chance to really got a chance to meet Jordan over the past couple of years as a member of our Northwest chapter. And Big Play Babs, that's great. He's going to appreciate that. And he gives this great keynote. He just talks about 16 million. Like there are 16 million high school kid football players, and there's 256 that get drafted in a year. That's the competition to get in the NFL. And he did all the hard work to get there. And then, right, um, started winning awards and getting into Pro Bowls and other types of things like that. And so it's a really fascinating journey for Big Play Bab. So shout out to Jordan Babineau.
And shout out to
Um,
him for making the tackle on Tony Romo on the 2 yard line, which I was in the Hawks nest on that Monday Night Football when it happened. So I hope we just
ah,
made Jordan smile with that memory.
that is one of the big plays. So I knew sports was on this list here somewhere. So that leads me to this place too then. So what has to coaching is one of the businesses I think that can really succeed on virtual, at least was what I've discovered over the past 5 years. Like I really wanted to stay virtual and producing, and unfortunately the world went back to live producing. So I'm really specializing in hybrid now. But what has to happen for you to be really engaged in a coaching call, Casey?
Listen, ask
Yes.
really good questions. I use a framework called TED, which stands for Tell Me, Explain, Describe.
Okay.
I learned that at age 41. Wish I'd learned it in my early 20s and 30s. I practice TED-based questions on my kids all the time. An example might be, tell me more about that. Describe how
Yeah.
that would be important to you. And
Yes.
it's the second, third, fourth level. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's cool.
uh, but coaching is, again, it's funny. Sometimes people love telling themselves their story like, oh, I can't do that in person, or no, I can't do it virtually. It's different. Or it's tough to connect with somebody in virtual. I said, that's a story you're telling yourself. I totally disagree. I mean, if one man's opinion, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I disagree. And because I have a thriving coaching business that's 100% virtual
Yeah.
and with a waiting list.
Yeah.
Uh,
And with deep connections with some of these people, like life-changing moments connections.
yeah, well, it's funny. Back to the story I kind of teased about my dad. When my dad, I was teaching a CEO about being more vulnerable because she wanted to improve on that. And right before my dad died, and I tell the story in depth when during my keynote. Halfway through the call, I wasn't being vulnerable because I wasn't. She asked me how I was doing, and I was struggling because my dad was about to die. Well, I ended up telling her, "Hey, I need you to ask me a question again." So I had to re-ask me, "How you doing?" And I ended up I told her like, "I'm struggling. My dad's about to die," and we had this like amazing connection. She ended up sharing stories about her dad. I shared stories about my dad. Serendipitously, my next two meetings got canceled after I did that. Eerie goosebump moment. Her next meeting got canceled. We next spent the next hour and a half telling stories about our dads.
Oh,
Now, did
oh.
it happen by chance? I don't think so. I think because I leaned into vulnerability and call it universe or call it God, they said, "Hey, boom, we're going to create another strong relationship." And her name's Megan. I'm still friends with her to this day.
Oh,
Um, but again, they're powerful moments that you can still, if you show up, if you listen, if you ask great questions, if you use the power of social media to find things to connect with people and ask questions, and you find something that intrigues someone else, they will talk about themselves. They always do.
well, shout out to my dad, Dr. Thomas Chen, otherwise known as Doc. Too would, right, that was one of the causes of the divorce, and so he was not always on the closest side. He was the smartest guy in the room, but he wasn't always the most relationship guy in the room. But in the past years, he's done great things. He's showed up to my son's graduation, my son's wedding, and he's really. We have this thing called everybody's birthday dinner. So we all fly to San Francisco. Right. The story is my dad's kind of lazy, so we celebrate all five kids' birthday on one day. So we all fly to San Francisco, and in return, he ends up getting a restaurant that is a 2 or 3 Michelin star restaurant and pays for the whole thing. And that's like our family tradition. And so my dad has really come a long ways in the relationship with all of us kids. And yeah, I appreciate that. All right, Casey, to end us up, where this is the speed round. I've been as I've been listening to you, I've been writing questions. So this is the speed round. I'm going to ask a question. You're going to try and answer it as fast as possible. Are you
Let's
ready,
go.
Casey?
Let's do it.
Okay. Best movie quote.
You take drugs, Danny?
Current favorite song.
Um, favorite song. I'm gonna go We Are the World. It's been in my head for a long time. Even
Oh,
though it's
yeah.
not current, but it's stuck in my head right now.
Best coasting question.
Best coaching question.
Yes.
Tell me what's changed.
Oh. Sport you follow.
Golf.
Oh, I was waiting for the Seahawk. Golf. We know a guy who freestyle raps on the golf circuit. We'll talk about that later. What do you appreciate about your family?
We laugh a lot.
Oh. What does believe mean to you?
You have to believe. Do you ask yourself, do you believe it? Do you believe what you do matters? And that's simply that. Do you believe in what you do matters? And if so, then do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in the people around you? The power of believe is one of the most untapped, supercharging, powerful words you can use.
Oh, genius. Best place to travel to?
Hawaii.
Oh, nice. I gotta get a trip there. I still haven't been since the pandemic. You said win the relationship, not the deal. What's your best relationship out of your family and why?
My wife.
No, out of your family.
Oh, out of my family.
But shout out to your wife.
Out of best relationship out of my family. Oh, that's a tough question. God, I'm not really doing good language. I don't want to offend somebody. I would say I would say one of even though I don't see him as ever close enough, but I would say my high school football coach.
Oh,
Because
oh,
he that's where I really got the first unlocked power of the word vulnerability when I asked for help at 17 years old.
wow. Very cool. Okay, and the last and final question, Casey, so we can get our meetings in time too. If you could get people to magically remember one thing from this podcast, what would it be?
You don't need AI to be nice. You don't need AI. You don't need AI to slow down. You don't need
Oh,
AI to connect to people.
bonus question two. What about AI and coaching? Some people think AI is going to get rid of coaching. What's your view?
Go ahead and believe it, everybody. I disagree. I could not disagree more. AI will help you ask questions, but it doesn't read tone. It doesn't read body language. It doesn't have great follow-up questions. You have to prompt AI to ask the follow-up questions. And we as humans, there's so many human-based businesses. I think AI is impacting it, but it's never going to replace it. Could not disagree more.
Oh, I agree. I think that's a whole article right there, that prompting, right? Right. AI coaches have to be prompted, right? I don't
Mm-mm.
as a coach.
You can't, you can't erase 50 years of wisdom that I've incorporated through a lot of failure in life. AI can't
Genius.
replace that.
Casey, thanks again so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you in person someday or back on virtual somewhere in the world.
Grateful for you, brother.
Outstanding. All right, we've been listening to Casey Jacox, and he says, believe, right? Belief is the biggest power that you can see. This is John Chen. You're listening to the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Make sure if you're on social media, share, subscribe, like, comment, and thank you again. I'm almost to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so if you want to be the 1,000 subscriber, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. And this Wednesday, make sure and look for the Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders Summit here at the Seattle Public Library, online anywhere. And if you're too busy, just register and you'll get the recordings. And most of all, check out the Engaging Retreat, where I share all my lifetime of secrets of engagement with about 15 other top speakers that are around the world. This year is October 20th through the 22nd. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Don't we start people and keep old people? Show you got heart.